how the energy sector and the construction sector has been faring well for Bangladesh and Japan relationships. So as you all are aware, we are approaching $1 trillion economy dream by 2034. And if we were to realize this, then Japan is essentially one of our key component partners. To start things off, the core hypothesis of my presentation surrounds about the fact that how we can actually reach the $1 trillion economy. Currently, we are at $456 billion worth of trade. And if we were to consider other aspects, the loans for most of the projects have basically been outweighing most of the other preferences. What we are trying to do is basically bring in more projects through the FDI route, or the foreign direct investment route. So Japan, being one of our largest development partners ever since our independence, is still playing a critical role as of this day. If I were to basically summarize Japan's involvement in Bangladesh so far, there are 368 plus Japanese firms that are operating in Bangladesh, and roughly 379 plus businesses that have formed joint ventures with various other local and other Japanese counterparts within the country. So, like I said, Japan has been a true friend of Bangladesh, and ever since our independence, Japan formally established diplomatic ties on the 10th of February 1972. They have been one of our largest development partners, if not the largest at one point. And currently, companies like Sumitomo, Mitsubishi Heavy Industries, and a lot of the bulk are currently fully operating in Bangladesh in various parts. There's a long historical preference that we have, and one of the recent strategies is what we call the Big B strategy that Japan has assigned us. This has got to do with, similar to China's Belt and Road Initiative, how Japan basically wants to help develop the infrastructure space within Bangladesh. So without further delay, let me just get into some of the projects. These projects have basically been either completed, ongoing, or will be completed within the next few years. To start things off, let me give a description about a few power projects that the Japanese have done, mostly in collaboration with JICA. The funding has been arranged by JICA, and the companies that have represented Japan have also collaborated with a lot of Bangladeshi companies recently. So to start things off, let's talk about the Bharamara combined power plant. It is a 410 megawatt power plant, gas cycle, was completed in 2017-2018. It is a critical component in the Western grid. Especially, it supplies about 5% of the energy within the Western grid of Bangladesh, stabilizing the eastern components and taking the load off. And Mitsubishi Hitachi Power Systems have been assigned both these power plants. If we speak about the strategic importance of Haripal and why these are important, okay, it basically supported the rapid urban development and industrial growth that helped shape Bangladesh towards a new economic energy future post-2010. Besides power plants, there are a few projects that have actually enhanced our national grid. One of them being the Dhaka-Chittagong Main Power Grid Strengthening Project. This was completed around 2020, and it basically included an upgradation to our entire transmission network. The local partners for this were the Power Grid Development Company of Bangladesh, and this too, again, was financed by JICA. It reduced the congestion and losses on the country's main economic network, a corridor, and improving reliability for industries and ports. The National Power Transmission Network Development Project, this was again completed in 2013 to 2017, and the expansion on this laid the groundwork for later projects that we have, especially around Matharbari, that is primarily deemed as the future seaport in the country. There's an ongoing substation construction project, basically to make the critical power supplies look a little bit neat, because Dhaka, as you know, is a very dense city. So within the dense population masses of Dhaka, its urbanization and the beauty of the urbanization is a critical component. So to ensure that the power supply is not disrupted and the beauty of the city is not disrupted, this is one of the latest projects that's actually been in the works. If we speak about infrastructure, there are some critical components and bridges that Japan has developed. If I start with the first one, which is the Jamuna Multipurpose Bridge, it is a 4.8 kilometer bridge that was, one of the initial bridges that laid the foundation for a lot of our structural work. JICA carried out the feasibility studies from 1973 to 1976, and then again it resumed from 1986 to 1989. The final construction financing was shared by IDA or the World Bank, ADB, and Japan's OECF. This contributed roughly 200 million each from each institution, but what it did was it further pioneered Bangladesh's road trajectory in the infrastructure space. Before the bridge, ferries handled over 60% of the east-west river crossings, cutting off roughly 30 million people from the northwest region of the part. ADB's own retrospective calls it a gateway for economic growth and prosperity, crediting the bridge and sharply cutting transport costs, lifting regional exports, and accelerating labor migration. It was the first fixed link between Bangladesh's east and west and the physical economic template for every subsequent JICA Bangladesh project heading forward. We have the Meghna Bridge and the Gomti Bridge originals, and we also have the second Kachpur, second Meghna, and second Meghna Gomti bridges, which were completed 7 months in advance. Right now, we are also focusing on some upcoming projects. That includes the third terminal, and it's a critical project simply because of the fact that we will be handling passenger capacity from 8 to 20 million very soon. So the completion of the third terminal with the help of the Japanese consortia is actually a very key component that we look forward. In terms of other infrastructure bridges, the Jamuna Railway Bridge, which was opened very recently in March 2025, that's also a 4.8 kilometer bridge running parallel to the original Jamuna Bridge, ending decades of speed and axle load restrictions that the shared road rail structure had imposed on the rail traffic. JICA ODA loan covered roughly 72% of the ultimate 16,781 crore budget project, and it was built by IIS Sumitomo Mitsui Construction Joint Venture. The transformation was that it freed up the original bridge from the road traffic while giving Bangladesh Railway a modern, higher capacity link between Dhaka and the northwest, forming parts of the Trans-Asian Railway network and connecting towards India.